And we're live.
All right, man. How's it going? How you doing today?
Hey, Pete. Good, mirthsome. Enjoying
Mirthsome. Good. Okay.
some. I'd say on balance, yeah. How about you? What's your general? What's your on the mirthometer? How are you sitting?
Pretty good. Actually, this weekend I had a friend of mine from San Francisco come and visit, and he's staying at a friend's house down the block for me. And so it's been kind of fun to do like some hang out with a dude I don't see very often and kind of like catching up on stuff. And he's a guy, much like our a lot of our mutual friends, you can just like bounce any topic in the world off of and have a fun conversation. So
So
we've been
delightful.
I spent the whole day, the whole morning going from like coffee shops to like taco joints to like a beer spot to, just like hitting up a bookstore. So it's been actually a really lovely day. I'm very lubricated with
Yeah.
multiple, caffeine / alcohol.
Oh,
And so yeah, it's been a good day. I cannot complain at all. It's been good.
the best version of boys being boys, like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's what boys will be boys really means. It's like going and getting one too many coffees at the cafe and a bit of a beer afterwards.
At my ancient age, we were just talking about getting old.
Yeah,
That's as
old
radical as it gets. Yeah.
wizened, yeah, as a wizened mage, you're yeah, it's two cappuccinos is where you call it for the for the maxing it out.
uh,
Oh man.
but yeah,
uh
there's a new venue down the street here in Sacramento. We're like Club Yimby,
mm,
and Sacramento's been doing a good job of like building shit recently. And
okay.
so there's this new venue called Channel 24 that this is why my buddy was in town to go see a show there.
Mhm.
But it's actually kind of awesome because it's literally 3 blocks from my house. And I've watched them over the past year go from like dirt to a full venue that's like fully booked out for the entire rest of the year with like huge
Let's
acts. Like I'm
go.
going to see Jack White there in May.
Whoa,
Yeah,
damn.
like big shows, 3 blocks from my house. I'm like so stoked on this. So, I mean, it is kind of a cool thing that if you build a new establishment, like a cultural establishment, it does just like bring life into a neighborhood. And I've seen that happen in my specific neighborhood in a kind of cool way. Like everyone, all my neighbors, like just spontaneously were talking about it and, oh, what show are you going to? I mean, it's great. It's very exciting.
Sacramento is such a beautiful place for culture. Like it has such a homespun kind of cottage little sourdough starter of its own that just I feel like San Francisco is such a faceless behemoth sometimes. Like a venue can flourish and die and only like the 1,500 people that went there ever knew about it. In
Mm,
Sacramento, it's so cute. Like every establishment just becomes so beloved and like well patronized.
yeah, good
It's the
point. It's
it's like
true.
one of the cutest places on earth, truly.
I think it's an underrated city. I always say that this is my
Oh
hot
yeah,
take about Sacramento. If it existed in any other state as it currently exists, as just all of its infrastructure, etc., if it were in any other state, it would be a cool city. But because it's
right,
people compare it to San Francisco and San
right.
Diego and LA, it just doesn't. There's no comparison. It's like, sorry, it's not a world class city, and it gets compared to world class cities. But if it were compared like regularly to like Denver or Portland or something, it would be like, whoa, this is a cool city. There's a lot going on, but it's just like it can't compare to the other powerhouses in the state of California.
And Peter owns a home in Sacramento. Peter is part of the landowning class. Do you plan on sharecropping any of your acreage in the humble and in humble Sac,
Well,
potentially renting out your renovated ADA in the
I
back?
mean, the wife wants to move us back to San Francisco, where who
Really?
knows if
Still?
we'll. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Oh.
We'll see. It might happen. We'll see. So I might lose my landed gentry class
Yeah,
status
that's
very quickly. We'll see how that pans out. I don't know.
oh yeah. If you
Although
Peter,
San Francisco properties keep going down, so maybe the dream will continue.
if you give up this house, you'll never own anything ever again. That's over. Ownership. What are we talking about? We'll never own anything again. Own a home? It'll be a dream.
Dude, with interest rates, that's real. Yeah, like how do you buy a house with like a 7% interest rate? Exactly.
Here's my question. Will millennials be famous for the same thing that the boomers are famous for, in like
Mm.
being like a self-driven death cult that refuses to pass wealth down to the next generation? I don't know. I feel like we're a pretty charitable cohort, but maybe pretty selfish too. I could see us holding on. I could see us hitting the Joe Biden, the millennials, and just holding on to every scrap of equity we have in society. And
I think that the boomers are going to like just they've been the most spoiled generation of all time, right? They're also going to be the generation that before they finally die out, there's going to be like 10% of them left or whatever. And then we're going to crack aging and cure that shit. And then those boomers that are left are going to be still in power. And so they're just
oh
never going to fucking die. And so millennials are never going to have that chance to figure out if we're as
that is
like
the
greedy
most
as
that is the most dystopian, that is the most brutal, beautiful dystopian thing I've heard. That's got to be a plot. You've got to write at least a short story about that, Pete. That would be unbelievable. Like, just as they're taking their dying breath, like
yeah.
the infinite life drug comes out, and they remain powerful for all eternity, dude.
It would be the boomers. That would just be so appropriate for that
Oh,
generation in particular to be the ones that.
they're all
Yeah.
Emperor Palpatine. They're they're
Mhm.
all, yeah. Uh,
Well,
what do
speaking
you want
of
to talk about today, brother?
yeah, speaking of aging and health and I'm not sure world domination schemes, I wanted to. I mean, this has been coming up a lot lately. I know that you're interested in this topic. I wanted to talk about the RFK and the food dye
Mm,
situation.
mhm.
Let me pull this up to do like my normie you know lib cred here. Let me pull up the New York Times article. I just read about this, so we can jump off from this particular article. I think it's a good place to start.
I couldn't be
So,
more excited to talk about this. This is one of this, like, just hearing about it on the news the other day, or whatever news source I caught it from, it got me a little emotional, actually.
mm,
Yeah. What did the New York?
emotional. Oh
Yeah.
well. Oh, let's start there. Okay, let's start there. What was your emotion when you heard this? I'm gonna play
Oh,
Oprah. I feel like this is the Oprah question.
oh yeah, I had a total Oprah moment. Absolute. You know, oh, oh, oh my. Like, I totally had a, like, I never thought in my lifetime I'd see it. Like, that was I don't know what that emotion is. Is it like ennui, or like just some kind of like metaphysical, like the pain of hope? You know what I mean? Like the pain of a hope lost and reignited.
So okay, so what drives your enthusiasm for food dyes being banned? Is it the idea that you're worried for your health personally and you don't like them in your food? Is it yeah, explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I
Because
think
I'm like, I'll just to throw it out there, I'm interested in the fact that basically no science ever is settled on this. And
right,
like we ban some dyes that Europe allows, Europe bans some dyes that we allow. No
right.
one fucking knows. The studies are all out. You can't, it's very hard to study this.
Yeah.
And in general, like this is what the New York Times article says, just to throw it
Mm,
out there too.
mhm,
Like sure, it's definitely not bad to
mhm,
ban the food dye in your mac and cheese, but that's not what's bad for you. It's the mac and cheese itself. Like, don't
mhm,
like for sure ban the
mm.
yellow in your mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Also, don't like pretend like you're gonna be healthier because there's some like one less ingredient in your mac and cheese. The whole thing is ultra processed, like effectively poison that you're consuming. So just don't eat the mac and cheese.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit overblown to think that like the food anything that has a food dye in it is unhealthy, basically, like kind of full stop. So whether or not the food dye is in there, don't eat that type of thing anyway. That's a hot take from the New York Times, which I agree with. But yeah, uh,
Which is so funny because, like, I had not come up with it in my mind yet, but when I heard it a couple days ago, I thought to myself, okay, well, the way that our current informational ecosystem works, some liberal publication is going to twist itself into the most elaborate shape of pretzel to find a way that this is like meaningless and not important, and just because it's coming out of the Trump administration, which I find kind of endlessly entertaining, like just the absolute I don't, the sailor's knot that people will twist themselves into. But I look, my
I
views.
don't think it's a sailor's knot. I think it's embracing reality that like no one's like, to be fair, the New York Times, me, everybody is like, dude, yeah, let's ban the food dyes.
Yeah.
No one is like, please don't ban these. Everyone's like, yeah, let's ban them. But then the follow up is like, let's not pretend like this is going to make you healthier. That's the
Yeah.
that's the view,
But
I
it's
think.
like, but I think even just like just the energy of throwing a caveat after like we should ban food dyes, but is already like this kind of bizarre way to hedge against the idea's importance as like which I think is part and parcel with the way the corporatocracy has infected the minds of most Americans when it comes to defending bizarre shit that is so counterintuitive. I mean, it really
Well, like if someone were to say to me, you have a choice, you're the
yeah.
emperor of the world, you have a choice. Are you going to ban food dyes so that it like a certain part of the population gets like more excited than is perhaps warranted, or should you just ban ultra processed foods? Dude, I'm banning ultra processed foods every day, even if it's gonna like make me look like a dictator, and it's gonna put businesses out of business. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the thing that matters. It's ultra processed food.
I think
It's kind of, it's just like you're just pretending like this is a big deal.
I don't
If
think
you
so.
just ban the food
I
dyes.
think I think you're on a different order of magnitude of impact on the human body when you're looking at like uh truly artificial structures being introduced into food. So it's a non-food item in the food, right? Like we're looking at a purely non-food item in the food. So
Yeah,
we're
but I
already
just no, but
causing a
that's most things. Like, to be fair,
yeah.
most things that are in ultra processed foods, it's a lot of that shit. And the food has like the most minimal ingredient of. I just actually looked up for fun. I actually
Yeah.
I looked up. We're looking at a picture here of Hawaiian punch. So I looked
Yeah.
up the ingredients,
Yeah.
and so the biggest fucking ingredient, it's water and high fructose corn syrup. Like,
Right.
food dye doesn't even show up as like,
But
yeah, it has red
it's
40
corn
and blue
syrup.
1, but those are but it has sucralose, potassium sorbate,
Mhm.
sodium
Mhm.
hexametaphosphate,
That one.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to help extend the shelf life. It's got all this like utter bullshit in it, and
Yeah.
sure, it's got red 40 and blue 1, where the fuck,
Yeah.
but like, dude, it's got okay additives, pectin, acai gum, ester gum, and then others that don't show up on this list and others. So, dude, it's like this one fucking thing that's like pretending to be fruit juice. It's
Right.
all poison.
Right.
Like,
But you have to start somewhere. And I
you
think if
do. This is
but
where I do agree with you,
but hold
100%.
on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
back to the main point, which is that like even in the nomenclature, ultra processed, like you're ultra processed what? It's an ultra processed food item that you're beginning with, and then you're processing it to the point where it's ultra stable. Like an artificial color or an artificial flavor, that's coming from a non-food source, right? Or else it would be an ultra processed ingredient. We're on it, it's a different order of magnitude, these additives, the way, and here's the thing is when they say, they're like, oh well, it's safe, right? It's safe in this amount, it's safe in this part per million, it's safe in this dose rate, it's safe in this like your body has ways to methylate, to to deal with truly exogenous molecules as they enter your body. There's ways for your body to get rid of this stuff. But what they don't
Sure.
have, what's not on the food pyramid or the safety information for something like an artificial flavor or an artificial color, is its compounding and its compounding effect over time. That's the thing that we have we don't have a hard time studying that, but we have a probably $1 trillion industry that who's in its core vested interest would love for us to not study the longitudinal effects of
I mean,
additives. But
it's studied. It's studied. It's just like the studies just say inconveniently we don't really know, like inconclusive. Like
well,
maybe that it has some. Well, okay. Let me actually. I want to say like one thing and read a quote. These are all great points, and actually, I'm actually totally I'm agreeing with you here, but we're gonna fight about it because it's way more fun to fight about it.
I like that.
So yeah. So the studies say
Yeah.
like this is like the bad studies like, oh my god, this is the fear, is
Uh-huh.
that food dyes make some kids sometimes have more hyperactivity and like one other like behavioral issue, and maybe there's a cognitive thing, like maybe, but like maybe like some studies show small effects, maybe.
Yeah.
um the actual problems in life, the things that are killing people and
Uh-huh.
dragging down our society and make it being a huge weight on our health system, it's
Yeah.
diabetes and obesity.
Truly.
And so
Heart
taking
disease.
out food dyes might be counterproductive because people
Mm,
who eat mac and cheese nonstop all day long and drink sodas all day long and eat cereal all day long, right? All the things with food dyes,
yeah.
they might have the illusion that now this is actually healthy because RFK took out the food dyes and they continue to eat it. And the thing that isn't just like maybe giving them mild ADHD or whatever, but the thing that's like fucking killing them is the
Yeah.
thing that now they think is safe to eat.
This
Let
is
me just read this quote, then I'll totally pass it back to you. But this quote, I
yeah.
thought this jumped out at me. You can take the yellow dye out of mac and cheese and replace it with turmeric, but you're still giving your kid a food that's ultra processed and packed with sodium, says
Uh-huh.
this doctor. Like that's the gist of kind of like where I'm coming from. And
Uh-huh.
maybe one more quote here, just
Uh-huh.
to humor me.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up one more quote. Nutrition experts noted that many ultra processed foods that contain artificial dyes also contain a lot of sugar, sodium, and saturated fat, and far fewer nutrients than fresh foods do. While ultra processed foods have been linked to obesity and diabetes, there is no evidence directly linking artificial dyes to either condition,
Mm.
says this doctor. So yeah, that's my worry, is that people might think that now this is going to make them healthier so that it's safe to eat, when it's like no, like just don't fucking eat this shit. That's the bottom line.
I
Okay,
I I
back to you.
I pray for my sake that liberal publications don't tune into this podcast to listen to your absolute absurdist take on why banning food dyes is not important. It's so convincing. It's so convincing. It's so deflective. It's so effective. It's so beautiful, Peter.
But like,
It's so,
what if the food
it's
dyes
so
actually like if
absurd.
what would the studies say is the food dyes like maybe sometimes might have
But
some small
here's the
minor
thing.
harmful effects? Like that's what
Well,
we know. Like we
well,
know nothing but that, right?
two things. One, studies are studies. I think, to the point of this podcast so often, that that's something that AI is going to revolutionize, because it's going to be able to fully model the complex systems in real time that it takes to figure out what the effects are of these things on these cellular structures, because each person is different, metabolizes things differently. Studies are only so effective and they're only so large, and depending on who's funding them, they have a very specific goal in mind that they're trying to get to. Now, the
But they're also all we have, right? Yeah, I'm
right,
not going to say they're at all even
sure,
close to
but
perfect,
we
but it
also
is
have
all we have,
but
right?
we also have common sense, though. We also have
The
common
common
sense.
sense is don't eat the mac and cheese, don't eat the cereal, don't drink the fucking soda. You know what I mean? Like that's what we know. For like every scientist on the entire face of the planet says don't eat this shit, full stop. Not like, oh, take out the food dye, but like don't fucking eat the thing anyway. Here's a good way to not eat the food dye. Don't eat the thing.
Yeah, but then it's so funny, because then, okay, now we pull out into an even larger system of unhealth and which is, we have a mental health epidemic. Do you think, like,
Yeah.
most people who are happy living lives where they feel in at least some degree fulfilled, that it's not just a cage that contains their existence, are not eating enough of any of this stuff to get to the point where it's a problem, right? Like when we're thinking about people with heart disease and obesity, this is people that are eating sadness, man. You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
mean, I'm with you there.
it's like, because
Uh,
the ingredients are only as effective as the quantity that you're eating them in. You can eat
yes.
some mac and cheese if you there's people that have lived for, whatever, the Big Mac guy. He was like not a huge guy, but he ate a Big Mac like what, twice a day for like 30 years, but he only ate two,
We
a
can
day.
we can all name an old person who ate a donut every day and lived to 95 perfectly healthy. Like I know multiple old people in that category. So exactly, you're right. If you have a healthy life, I guess just one little pinpoint because it's personally affecting my life or whatever
Yeah.
is I don't like the fact that every time I take my daughter to literally any restaurant ever, the kids menu, it's always mac and cheese and
Mm,
something fried like
mm,
chicken
mm.
fingers or whatever, you know what I
The
mean? Or tater
palate
tots
to
or something.
placate them.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
I get it, kids are picky, but my daughter like loves broccoli. Like she literally every night we do steamed broccoli. Like I
Very
don't know,
cute.
like just expand that kid's menu at some level. Like if I were RFK, I would give some sort of a tax incentive or something to restaurants that expand their
Mm.
kids menus to make it so that every time you take your kid out to a restaurant, they don't
Yeah.
have to eat this insanely over processed food and
Yeah.
there's nothing else that they can eat. Or because like, adult food is spicy. It's not like I can just like give her some of my food. If there's
Right.
like fucking jalapenos in my food, I can't give it to
Right.
her. I don't
Man,
know.
it's so crazy you say that because I was at the hospital yesterday for a doctor's appointment, and I had to wait for a prescription, and I was walking around the hospital, and I just kind of scoped out all the food that they had going on there. And
Mm.
it was devastating. It was like every doctor, every nurse, there's a Starbucks in there. They're not walking around with a cup of black coffee. They're walking around with a giant clear cup of something with whipped cream on top and sugar.
Mm.
And the cafeteria was all super high sodium, super high sugar food, crap ingredients. Everything looked very cafeteria, and I'm like, this is the place where people are supposed to go to get better from being sick, and this is also the place where people are supposed to be at their absolute sharpest and brightest to help the people get better who are sick. And we're feeding them something that just turns the human experience into like a slow moving syrup puddle. You know what I mean? It's like high blood
Yeah.
sugar, high sodium, inflammation. They just create a clouded experience in the human body and in the human condition 9 times out of 10. Look, there's people that are outliers that are joyful and have energy and focus and are exuberant, that are hugely overweight. It happens. It is not the normal condition that most people who find themselves in are in. And
Yeah, so like that is ironic.
accents in it.
I gotta just for fun, I gotta pull up another piece of irony here. Um,
Can I just
Bear with
say,
me.
can I just
Absolutely.
can I just say, here's my hot take.
Yeah.
Only food should be in food. I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
I'm gonna let
yeah.
that percolate. Only food items. Can I just really quick? I need this 10-second, this 30-second segue. Artificial colors and artificial dyes, do you know where they come from? They're parts of the petroleum derivation chain, the chain where crude oil turns into gasoline. Somewhere in there, that's where the vast majority of artificial additives come from, and that's why we consider them to be artificial. It's
Mhm.
pretty hard. There's not like a bunch of like scientists like hard at work. Yeah, there is, to create this stuff, but mostly it's byproduct. And I've always, let me give you my little
Yeah.
conspiracy theory. This is because my views range from reasonable to absolute crackpot conspiracy theory. Here's my Joe Rogan, is that I think that these companies, these petroleum refining companies, are saving probably billions of dollars a year and having to dump all of these toxic chemicals because they happen to be yellow, or because it happens to be red, or because it happens to have kind of a vanilla type flavor to it. And they use the human the American population as like the world's largest landfill disposal site for these toxic chemicals, man. Makeup
I want
and
to I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying about at the hospital the other day and the
yeah.
irony of that. This is my parallel worry that I
Oh,
have with the
this
Trump
one.
administration
Yeah.
is that like sure RFK, I like nothing about the man except for the fact that I do actually like that he's getting rid of food dyes, and I think that and I do think it actually is important that he's
Actually good.
spotlighting this. As much as I love to argue with you about this, I actually think it is important and it's good. Uh, but I think that the Trump administration broadly, I think that it actually projects having an unhealthy lifestyle. And
Absolutely.
RFK doing stuff is one thing, sure, but and like being buff at his age, sure. But Trump eating McDonald's and having Diet Coke, which is also full of utter shit, like
Yeah.
nonstop, that is changing people's lifestyles and eating habits more, I guarantee, than RFK and like tweaking the dials of things we may or may not, be actually impacted by. That's my last note I just
Yeah.
have about the RFK thing is I think that the administration that he's a part of, I think is not actually pro health, even if they are doing some RFK isms.
I don't think so.
Dude, they're also fucking canceling like
I,
important studies on cancer and like
I
defunding like actual real important research that is going to maybe potentially save lives. Gone. And there's like Ebola researchers that are studying the next Ebola epidemic. Gone. I mean, like that to me is just anti-health. That's like we're making ourselves, more people are going to die because of that shit than like
I think so
whoever
too.
might possibly conceivably die of red number 10 or whatever.
I think so too, but I think that it's since we already live in this hybrid socialist, democracy where we socialize risk for corporations, we socialize the risk for any corporation to do anything to people. There's just a million ways for them to escape culpability, to hurt people, to kill people, to put poison in the food, to put poison in the medicine, to distribute the medicine at poisonous levels. There's no accountability for any of this stuff.
There's
We
a
have
lot of accountability. We just need to make sure that the accountability people, I mean, like our whole entire legal system exists to sue the fuck out of people who cause
Yeah,
more
but it's
harm
not a
than social
meaningful.
good.
Yeah, but you see it like the.
I mean, yes, like I mean, I'm gonna like, dude, like it used to be easy and convenient and cost effective to put lead in gasoline. We had to restructure car engines, right? There was so much insane restructuring of society, top down, bottom up, all et cetera, to
Mhm.
get lead out of gasoline. We
Yeah,
did it because of lawsuits and regulations. I mean, and
yeah.
like, same thing with this, same thing with a lot of things. We absolutely can. And this is why you can like be in LA and breathe the air every month out of the year except for fire season, because and you couldn't in the 70s, right? At all. That was a lot of work. I mean, that was actual like that is why I do believe in America at some very basic level, is that we do value human life and we do value health. We just are fucking inconsistent, like random about it. But I think that we do creep towards a better, healthier way of living. I don't know, something like that.
Maybe, man. I don't know if with
Dude,
the.
I think that you're just too cynical because in your world, we would have never gotten rid of asbestos, or we would have never gotten rid of lead. And I mean, like, there are so many things that we like. So many people have dedicated their lives to improving our health, and like there's the EPA exists with like probably, I don't know, 50,000 lawyers work at the EPA just to, like, you got to give those people some credit, dude. I think that you do a disservice to huge swaths of our population who work like day in and day out to improve our health. Like, give them a little bit of credit, because it's not just like the evil corporations doing whatever the fuck they want. It's like, no, like, dude, it's like, I know people who work at the EPA every day. They're very passionate about this. Give those people some credit, you know?
in terms of protecting the environment, sure, but in terms of protecting the human body, like absolutely not. Like there, you can't give.
Dude, I just mentioned lead. That was a huge
Yeah,
issue, a
but we're talking about
huge issue.
pharmaceuticals, man. We're not talking about regulating like a hyper specific part of the construction.
Pharmaceuticals are regulated too. Same thing. Lots of lawsuits go on every single day. The FDA exists every single day. Very like hardworking scientists with their PhDs are hard at work making sure that the drugs that somebody's pushing through, that it's been accurately tested, and they make mistakes. But like, dude, also give those people a little bit of credit, you know?
No, I won't, because if you look at the amount of people in this country that are on antidepressants and the way that we prescribe things that deteriorate the human experience irrevocably over time, the way that the American medical system has failed people by pharmaceuticalizing medical care over the last like 50 to 75 years, like the way that, dude,
Yeah.
let me give you a let
Yeah.
me give you a really good example. So I have neck pain, and I went to my doctor for help, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, do you have like a pill? I'm in a desperate situation. I don't know what else to do. Do you have a pill that'll work for neck pain? And they say, yeah, take this. It's called Flexeril. Okay, cool. Let me take some Flexeril. It works, but it makes me feel kind of weird. And so I look it up. I look things up beforehand, but I've heard of this one before, and I didn't think to look it up because I know that it's generally recognized as a muscle relaxant. Well, it's not a muscle relaxant. Guess what it is? It's an antidepressant. Okay, so I go
Mm.
back and I say, hey, it's been making me feel kind of weird, and because it modulates neurochemical levels in my brain, right? It does nothing for pain. It's modulating my experience of pain, right? And so I go and I say, hey, and then I go to a specialist. And this is one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. I think it really illuminates the sad state of affairs of healthcare in this country, because this woman, very smart, was like recommending books like, Unlearn Your Pain, this and that. And she goes, I'm going to prescribe you a 6-week course of a drug called nortriptyline. And I said, okay, cool. And so I go and I do my research on nortriptyline. You know what nortriptyline? It's another antidepressant. So this is twice now that they've prescribed me an antidepressant, and guess how many the prescription is for? 120 of them, and it modulates two critical neurotransmitters in my brain. And what's the method of action, Peter? They don't know, because we don't understand how antidepressants work in the brain. We only understand through trusting studies that it has a certain effect that is measurable in certain populations, but we do not understand the mechanism of action of these drugs. Yet 30 to 40% of people in America are on these drugs. And there's clearly financial incentives for these companies to have their specialists and their doctors prescribe these long, 6 weeks on an antidepressant could irrevocably change the shape of my life forever if I was the type of person that would just blindly trust the medical establishment. But thank the Lord, I'm not. Because last thing, and I'll kick it
Yes.
back to you, is that, so I picked the prescription up. They're like, oh, do you want to take this nortriptyline prescription home? I said, fuck it. It's always interesting to me to have different little things that they've given me around, just to, I don't know. It's almost like like a chicken bone or something, it's like some weird philosopher's stone, from the future. And I take it home, and they give me the safety sheet on it, and I'm looking for the information that would tell me what it, anything about it. But it's all about suicide, Peter. It's all about how you need to tell your family that you're taking this drug just in case you commit suicide or have intense suicidal ideation. And I'm like, dude, it's just my neck hurting, right? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this is a crazy story.
I'm like, yes, committing suicide would actually stop my neck pain,
Yes.
but that's not what I'm trying to do here, man.
Devin, that would stop the neck pain. No, like I'm not gonna I actually have done similar rants on my own. I am so on board with that rant. I am like fully on board with that. So I mean, I have a psychology degree.
Yes.
And this is a thing that I think is just very interesting, is that I think that psychology it's a brand new baby field
True.
that, especially the first 50 years of its existence, everything that we were dabbling in turns out it's all
Credit. Yep.
cranky or whatever. It's fucking nonsense.
Yep.
Then the next branch of it came along, all also kind of nonsense.
Yep.
We finally have like CBT that kind of sort of works sometimes every now
Right.
and then.
Yep.
And then now like we're just still like being like, I don't know, this shit's hard. And
Yeah.
like in the meantime, like not for the better, but for the worse, because of that early shit that happened early on in the history of psychology. It became medicalized at
Right.
some point.
Yep.
And so rather than just being like, oh, let's figure out what your problems are in your life or let's work this out, it became like, oh, here's some pills to give you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that like, let's give some pills for you, which is like not a fucking insane thing to try, especially with
No.
people with like schizophrenia that you
Edge
cannot
cases.
like walk down the street. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
at all. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's important, but like just forgetting about like all the important things about having like healthy mental health and just like, oh yeah, here's a pill for you. That has become dominant in this
Yeah.
space because it's just easier and cheaper. And yeah, there's like incentives, but like, yeah, the whole thing is we're still in our infancy with this field and no one knows what the fuck we're doing with psychology. Like no one knows. And psychopharmacology, no one fucking knows. It's sledgehammers when we need a needle. You know what I mean? So like, I think 200 years from now, Devin, your rant
Oh, 10 years from now. 10 years
is
when
going to
we
be in. People
when
will
we reach,
listen to this rant and be like, "What the fuck were people doing back in 2025?" You know what I mean?
oh,
I
so much sooner than that. The singularity, man. Like when we reach
dude,
the point where we can model complex systems with AI generative AI through quantum computing is going to effortlessly model systems like the body. And
preach
it's
it,
gonna
man,
it's
preach.
gonna change it's gonna change the structure of human reality as we know it, man.
Mhm.
I hope so much that when that shift happens, that we're able to really use it in a positive way until we use it to annihilate our enemies.
Annihilate our enemies. Hey, Devin, can I play a clip?
Yeah. Oh God, please get me off this soapbox.
Okay,
Someone.
so I want to play a clip right here, and it's about this idea. So here's the I can share this. Sorry, give me a sec. This is the CEO of DeepMind who recently said that we're going to be curing aging in the next 10 years with AI. Let me play this clip and then we'll comment.
10 years and billions of dollars to design just one drug. We could maybe reduce that down from years to maybe months or maybe even weeks, which sounds incredible today, but that's also what people used to think about protein structures. It would revolutionize human health. And I think one day maybe we can cure all disease with the help of AI.
The end of disease?
I think that's within reach. Maybe within the next decade or so. I don't see why not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm skeptical of this a little
Hmm,
bit, but like
tell me.
only on the time frame, just on the time frame, just because I think that
Cause
when
shit
people
moves
throw out
slow.
time frames, it's arbitrary. Because
Yeah.
if someone says 3 years, it's like, okay, we'll hold it to that. We'll remember it. If someone says a decade, like everyone says a decade, like Peter
Right.
Zion always says that
Right.
China's going to fall in a decade. He's been saying
Right.
that. I've looked for like 15 years and he's still saying
Right.
it. It's that sort of, so anytime anyone says 10 years, that's like, it just indicates to me that they don't have any idea what the time frame is. But aside from that, if you take out the time frame element to it, I think this is true because I mean, like, we are running out of frontiers, like true frontiers,
Yeah.
and the human biology is a frontier that we're just gonna like as we run out of frontiers to solve. It's going to be more and more money will be put into it naturally. I think as the human creature is all about like going to the edge of the frontier, and I think that we will.
Yeah, I think if you look at I think that one of the final frontiers for us in our kind of cognitive capacity as far as it's going to take us is complex systems modeling. I mean, how many of our problems are just sufficiently complex that we can't intellectually model them, that we don't have computational power to model them? How many problems do we have? Now, we've solved so many of the mechanical, like, one foot after the other type things, but now we're looking at things like the body in a more granular way, right? In a more systematic and granular way. And it's just impossible for us to conceptualize the orders of magnitude that are at play in something like a cellular system, right? Like how many billions or trillions of cells are having interplay, and all of these kind of all these wild probabilities kind of at play in those systems, controlling a lot of the tensions on them. And I think that that's something that you would imagine, kind of understanding the place where computing is at, the place where artificial intelligence is at, that once those complex systems are able to be modeled, that it really changes our question answering matrix, right? Like we just can answer questions that have bedeviled us for the last 50 years, maybe since modern physics has kind of shifted over into more theoretical thinking again, after we've solved a lot of the kind of physical questions that we've had. What's dark matter? What is it? What's going on out there? Why do galaxies spin so fast? We don't know,
Devin. And then Jesus returns, and it's all okay. So when we run out of frontiers, Jesus returns right on cue.
Wouldn't that be the most brutal irony? It's like we finally get it. Like everything's so dialed. It's totally utopian, and Jesus is like,
"Yes,
I'm back.
Hey, I'm back, guys."
Yeah, so the rivers are going to be turning to blood next week, so innovate your way out of that.
Okay, well, hard pivot. I'm running out of time here today, but I want to talk about this because this is going to be fun. So I see more and more of this on my timeline about how people are like excited about AOC and Pete. And I think that this is actually like a lot of, we're going to see a lot of this over the next 3 years of people just like throwing out random names of Democrats and like mashing them together. This is an interesting one that I think that we'll probably hear more of.
This is going to live and die, Peter, on how well we can make a cute nickname from their names together. Pete Buttigieg.
Ooh.
I don't know. Maybe we're in the ballpark.
It's got to fit on a t-shirt is the thing.
Yeah. We're gonna, if we can effortlessly combine them into a JLo type acronym.
Yes,
it's game over.
That's all. We'll get to work on that. But in the meantime, let me play this clip. This has been floating around all over the place. This is getting like normies excited about Pete Buttigieg. Because he's doing this thing, which I think is very smart, actually, of going on like right-wing coded podcasts and just like being a normie dim. And a lot of people in the right-wing ecosystem apparently have never heard normie dims speak, because like normie dims have their problems, but like they also just say a lot of stuff that's kind of like just fucking true or whatever.
Yeah, it's very logic centric rhetoric.
Yeah, so let me play this clip. This will be something for us to jump off from.
Like, I want you to be able to get up in the morning, and the first thing you do is you commute to work. And by the way, if you're on EV, I want that to be affordable for you. Or if you're on public transit, not to get back into the subway situation, but I want you to have good public transit to get to where you're going. And then when you get to that job, I want you to be paid well. And if you're about to have a kid, I want you to know that you're going to have parental leave when you have that kid. And if you don't want to have a kid, I want you to have the right to choose whether to have a kid, which means access to birth control and abortion and those things that give you the freedom to decide on that. And if you already have a kid, when you pick them up at school, I want that school to be good, not having its funding slashed while they set fire to the Department of Education. And then when you get home, I want you to be in a neighborhood that is safe and where you can breathe the air, because we didn't let them get rid of the Clean Air Act. And you don't have to think for one moment about whether the air you breathe or the water you drink is clean and clear, which actually takes a lot, because it means the government has to constrain those actors that would make you unfree by polluting the air and polluting the water. And then when you go to bed, I want you to know that your family's going to be fine, even if it's family like mine, despite there being some Supreme Court justice who wants to obliterate your family because it doesn't match his interpretation of his religion. Like, that's the life I want everybody to be able to live.
Yeah, I think
we can deliver that.
That's
That was insane. That was like, have you ever seen those memory masters where they're like, you're walking through a street, it's a street lamp on your right, it's an orange street lamp, you go to your left, it's a fire hydrant, the fire hydrant's green. I can almost see him like that was such a beautiful little freestyle Pete threw down there.
I think just like painting a picture that everyone is kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Because I feel like whenever like the stereotype of the Democratic vision is, okay, everyone has purple hair, everyone has 50 pronouns, everyone is on multiple pharmaceuticals, speaking of which, I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that like Pete just like is so, I mean, he's Midwestern and he's so fucking bland and boring and safe in so many different ways, but he's also articulate. And I think that like him paired with a little bit of like radicalism of AOC, I don't know, they could work. They could work. I'm not going to say that that's my dream ticket. It's not, but I mean, like, yeah, there's something there.
It was giving.
What do you think? What do you think? I think in other words, taking some of the cultural bullshit out of the Democratic Party and just being like normie Pete-isms, that could be a way forward, because this happened with the first Trump administration and it's already happening now, a couple of months in, is people are exhausted with the chaos and they just want a little bit of like normalcy. And Pete is like so normal, you know.
100%. It was giving.
He's got a great name too, Pete.
Pete too, President Pete.
We need a Peter. We need a Peter.
President Pete.
Have not been enough Peters taking over the world. So Peter the Great.
It was giving Bush 1. It was giving Bush 1 campaign energy. Real like no, sorry, Bush Jr. Bush Jr. first year. It was giving real like colloquial stuff like I'm just one of you guys. You know, I'm just one of the guys. I'm just out there trying to live a normal life. You know, like it was very it was very good. I wouldn't mind. I mean, come on, like gay president? Who's not on board with that? You got to be out of your mind.
I do remember. Do you remember?
Can I just say but the real Mount Olympus of presidency is lesbian president. And let me tell you why. Because lesbians are the most powerful people in our society. And let me tell you why. Because they're the only people in our society unconcerned with the male gaze. A lesbian president would sit so far above the clouds. They're never going to let us have a lesbian president, man. that would be insane. It would turn this country around.
I think that's actually, maybe there's something insightful about that. Speaking of a female president though, man, I'm really digging just the vibes of Giorgia Meloni, the Italian president. Her just vibe is killing it. What is going on with her? Her vibe is so powerful, but like it's great. Whatever that vibe is, we need some of that in America.
Also, the Mexican president right now.
Oh, her too. Dude, vibes, man.
Just absolute crusher vibes, man. Really, really cool to see some ladies up there just doing work, dude. Got straight to work.
We need whoever the equivalent of those two together. Who's the American equivalent of that? Let's get her on the Democratic ticket.
Yeah, we need our Angela Merkel, dude. We need our strong.
She was powerful too, but she fucked up Germany in certain ways. So
okay, me too. But you know what I'm saying on vibe.
I know what you mean.
Feel me?
We
need our not Hillary Clinton.
no elitist. That elitist coding.
No. Exactly. It should be like one of those McDonald's. It should be like one of those McDonald's Monopoly games where it's like if your family works at McDonald's, you're not allowed to play anymore. You know, it's like if somebody like
wait, what?
If somebody like one familial step removed from you was president, you're disqualified. That's it for you. You know, like your family has had its say in the prestige field. Now just go and speak about things for the rest of your life for money.
I so agree with that.
You
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
we need more families up there.
We have
can't let
350 million people
oligarchy.
in this country. Yeah, we can do better than having any sort of a. We do not need Trump Jr. That's the last thing we need.
Oh, Baron Trump, dude. I can already see it, dude. The absolute fanfic that the right wing is having with the Trump family right now. It's going to be a generational fetish. Like these Trump stores and stuff, like after he's gone, it's the same people that like wanted monarchy, and I like there was like a revolution, but like 10% of people still wanted to keep the monarchy. Like those genes are alive in our society. That's
that's true.
That's like deep cuts Trump people, dude. They're just like, we need a strong man to lead us.
Oh, it's so yeah. Oh God, it's so to me it's just so grotesque. But
I find
what can you
it
do?
patently grotesque, Peter.
I have one more topic to pull up today.
Oh wow,
My voice stands with me. This is a fun one. We haven't done any cultural topics today, so let me hit this one up.
Yeah,
and then we can bounce. But we gotta do at least a little bit of a lowbrow culture, or else what are we doing here, right?
Oh, if my whole vibe isn't just lowbrow enough.
So this has been all over Twitter for me the last day or two. Okay, so Riley Reid, famous porn star, she was a little bit like doing the heterodox podcast space for a while,
Yeah.
and I haven't followed this at all, but maybe she's doing that turn or now something about, but she's doing a turn, and apparently she just got married and had a kid, and like this is the dunk, this is the classic dunk that I'm seeing online, is this person tweeting, "Buddy really wiped up the most famous porn star of all time. What a pathetic excuse for a man." So, and this has like, you can see here, 91.7 million views. I mean, come on. And like people are just like having like a heyday dunking on her. There's quite a bit of pushback on the dunking.
Surely.
For example, did I lose it? Oh shit, I lost it. There was a nice, okay. Yeah. So this person, J-Man, says people are shocked about Riley Reid, not because she's married. Porn stars often do get married, and quite often to other porn stars, but because people want her to suffer for her, quote, immorality. I think that's it. I think that people have some sense of like wanting her to suffer for some like very bizarre, like Christian coded reason or something like this. But I find this really actually interesting because, I mean, for a lot of reasons. Well, let me pass it to you to see if you have any thoughts on this.
Oh, sure. I mean, normative masculinity is still something that's like, it's like slowly dispersing out. There's still a nice, healthy chunk of people who had like just weird, who had fathers with like a bizarre kind of 50s style view on masculinity and toughness and like purity and like all of the stuff that kind of goes with that kind of traditional belief structure and lived experience around masculinity. And it's just like, I don't know, you should be happy even if you're like a tough guy, you should be happy for a dude who doesn't care about that. It's like, even if that's not like your speed or your flex, or you think she's some gross slut or something like that, it's like, yeah, but we live in a pluralistic society where whatever your dumbass does, people are fucking okay with it. I'm just like the hubris, I suppose, of just being like, oh, this cuck and his slut. I'm like, man, why don't we just go for a quick little dig into your life for a moment and see if we can't pull out anything unsavory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so interesting because puritanical culture, it is ingrained in us, not just through our world religions, but through actual like evolution, that we all have these just kind of like fundamental assumptions about a woman who has had sex with a lot of men. The thought there is like, if you were to have sex with her, you wouldn't know who your child is. That's like the evolutionary, like just like ick thing that males experience. And then so it sets that up for that woman to be judged harshly. But like in the modern era, when we're able to like decouple sex from procreation, if you do just kind of think about that, it comes more down to lifestyle and aesthetics. And
Totally.
we all are going to judge each other for our lifestyles. We just do that. And that's fine. I think that that's fine. But we can't pretend at all like sex is just about procreation now. And especially if you're like a porn star, you are completely decoupling sex from procreation. You're
Sure.
making it an art form. You're making it entertainment. You're making it your fucking job, you know. And like, don't tell me there aren't worse jobs than that, because I could name a million jobs that are worse than that.
Yeah.
At some level, there's been a lot written about that, of course. So it's just kind of a complicated topic, but I think that it says a lot about you personally if your reaction to this is to just like dunk on either her or the guy she's with without any sort of like a nuanced reflection about it. Because
Yeah.
in today's day and age, like, I'm sorry, it's not 1500 anymore. A nuanced response to this is what's called for.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's some kind of irony involved in how these people are beholden to purity structures that I don't even think that they could communicate to you about. And that those purity structures are so bound up in kind of lived cultural life ways. It's like you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, like you're giving voice to a part of a structure that oppresses you. You know, like the idea, the kind of idea of purity and the forcing of the idea of purity on women, it doesn't benefit anyone really. I mean, if it's a niche, if anything, in 2025, it's kind of a niche idea, the idea of female purity, or even male purity in a lot of ways. Like, we're really letting go of those superstructures as a society that dominated us for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, like these ideas around purity. And it is just to me positively arcane to have somebody be like, dude, that's crazy, like, what a bitch. You know, I'm like, damn, like, you're proceeds to go beat his wife, or you know, or
Right.
proceeds to not have had a meaningful relationship with a woman in how long, or ever, or
Right.
like, or whatever reality, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, maybe my last thought here, Devin,
yeah.
is that I think that a moment like this tells us a lot about where we are with our, lack of a better word, progressivism. Because, you know, I think it was like in the 70s, Bob Dylan married a woman who was a Playboy playmate.
Yeah.
And like, as far as I'm aware, zero scandal, no one cared. So like, it's totally okay and normal to marry a girl who poses nude. I mean, I guess like Trump, like his the first lady has posed nude in like magazines. But so we're there, and that's like normal, and no one would think that's anything but normal.
Right.
Even conservatives, obviously. But like, I guess the step further of into actual porn, that's the level where there's not broad consensus about, oh, that's normal now. You know what I mean? So I guess it is kind of interesting as just a check-in of where we are culturally about what is just like and what's kind of like still, quote, shameful or whatever. And maybe the question there is, are we ever going to make it so that like, oh, everybody's porn stars? I mean, supposedly like some massive percentage of like high schoolers all do sexting right now. It's like 80% of high schoolers sext or something like that. So maybe that's the generation where this is so insanely normal
They're
that
not
like, you don't even
fucking.
think about it.
True.
True.
They're definitely not fucking.
True. Oh shit.
It's sad. That's
Okay.
sad. I hate that statistic.
Oh man. You're right. Oh, okay. We're never gonna get past this one. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting, and it strikes to the heart of like the whole societal kind of shit. I mean, we're on a ship that just keeps rocking back and forth so violently around purity, masculinity, gender roles, stereotypes, like identity. It's like it's all like a rocking horse that's on a central pivot. You know, it's all kind of trying to examine a very similar you know, strip of the human experience. And it's very interesting to watch kind of everything in culture start toeing in on this very specific level of societal experience that we're all having right now.
Yeah, I just had this thought too, because I saw this tweet the other day about, man, everybody's so mean online, but like there was this tweet about a guy who was posted to Quora. I'm Muslim living in Europe, and every time I see a girl walk by with her hair out, I lose control. And let's take that out of good faith. Like this guy, like maybe that's an issue. I grew up in a very conservative household, so like I kind of get like having latent conservatisms that like are a problem for you. And like I think that there's a place to be empathetic for that. It's like not like it was his fault. He's from a Muslim country, you know what I mean? But like everybody was like, get out of Europe. Like if that's your thing, like you need to leave Europe and go back to where you came from. Like that's like the take, right? And but like I think that culture is so nuanced and so complicated that even like Bob Dylan marrying a Playboy playmate, that right now I said that that's so normal, but yeah, like only in America and probably swaths of the world. The not to be like too moral relativistic here or whatever, but like that's like that'd be like crazy, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, how could you do that to like swaths of the human planet, you know, the planet. So it's just interesting. I think that like culture, like you're almost kind of like saying there too a little bit, it's like we're all in different places at different times. We're all figuring this shit out. And at one point in time in human history, this is normal. At one point in time, like it's just not. And like, yeah, it's there is no endpoint for this culture stuff. There isn't.
I can't help but to think as you're talking about like a Muslim person being used to seeing women in hijab or like seeing women fully covered in burqa and being kind of like having uncontrolled thoughts at the idea. I can't help but to draw the analog that we've actually experienced kind of the same thing in America over the last 75 years. Because if you think about it, the female body here was always very draped, very covered, the form of it very obscured. And just in the last 10 or 15 years, it is 100% societally acceptable to go out with nothing but the absolute thinnest layer possible of clothing that is hugging every single part of your body so closely as if it was painted on. You can just leave the house and do that now. It's kind of part of our generally accepted societal norms. It still is crazy to see. It's still crazy.
You know what's so interesting about this, Devin, is that because now being inappropriately provocative is context dependent in America. So like if you see a woman in a bikini that's like barely there on a beach,
yeah,
it's like, oh, all right. Whatever, you glance at her and that's the end of it. If you see a girl like in her underwear in like a bedroom, it's like, whoa, that's so hot. Oh my God, what's going on here? This is amazing. Or it's like it's context dependent, even though the underwear is like modest or something like that. Because like our brains now aren't kind of like, oh, she doesn't have much clothes on. It's more like, oh, she doesn't have any clothes on in this context. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Which is so interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty bizarre system. I think that we're wrestling with so many different aspects of I don't know how to treat people and identity. Like even the porn conversation, like two different waves of feminism have absolutely diametrically opposed viewpoints to it. And those are both forms of women expressing their deepest level of care and intellectual care for women and women's issues, are disagreeing on an extremely fundamental part of femininity and whether it should be for sale or not.
Tell me more about feminism, Devin.
Yes, Peter. Join us on our next podcast where I explore the world of feminism.
Hot takes on feminism.
To all our female listeners out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I've actually got to bounce. We are going to end it there. Devin Carson, I'm glad we could figure out so many complicated cultural and scientific issues today.
That's right.
Team futurism.
We've solved them all. Join us next time for our special introspective on feminism, brought to you by two white men.
And happily successful relationships with.
That's true. That's true.
That's to our credit. You're right.
To our credit. Yes.
All right, man. Talk soon.
All right, see you later, man.